You know, whenever I see people discussing what collabs they want to see in the future, one property seems to get mentioned more than any other, and that's Ace Combat. Hello everyone. With the Senran Kagura collab this month, I thought it would be fun to speculate what a hypothetical future collab could look like. Ace Combat is one that I actually know fairly well, and is often requested. I can kind of see why. There's certainly plenty of characters that could form the core of a collab, like Kane Agase, Avril, Renna, Cosette, the Fitzgerald sisters, Yellowflaw, Fusion. But let's be honest here, this is generally not what people have in mind when they say they want an Ace Combat collab. They want the ships, really one ship in particular, with the rest being appreciated extras, but we'll get to her. Starting with the most important part of the collab, the characters. I'm going to operate under the assumption that ship girls of Ace Combat ships is what people want when building out the roster. Just try not to think too hard about the fact that these are modern-ish ships in a World War II game. The headliner for this hypothetical event is OFS Kestrel. She's basically the Enterprise of Ace Combat. If ND had at least 6 sisters, was a legally distinct Nimitz class, and sank. She had an eventful career, serving in Ace Combat Zero's Balkan War, and featured heavily in Ace Combat 5's Circum-Pacific War. Her kit should have a built-in elite damage control that would instantly recharge an airstrike, in reference to Ace Combat 5, and her launching the war-winning Razgri squadron in her dying gasp.
We've been hit by 2 sub-launch missiles! The ship's listening!
Launch them out!
We can't! The ship's listening heavily to starboard! We're sinking fast!
Continue with the launch!
But...
Take them up! Hurry up with the catapult!
Battleship Tanager is next, being the flagship of Aruja's mighty Aegir fleet in Ace Combat 4. Tanager is an Iowa-class battleship, known not only for being a battleship flagship in the era of aircraft carriers, but also her incredible gunnery, due in part to one Mateus Torres. Pretty standard for an SRBB, with some slight warspite influence. Marigold appears in Ace Combat 6 as the battlecruiser flagship of the Emirian Navy, 2nd Fleet. Since she's a Kirov-class battlecruiser, she would equip missiles instead of BB guns, like the Anshan missile destroyers, when they're in backline mode. Moving to the Vanguard ships, we run into a problem. Ace Combat is the funny plane game, not the funny boat game. Warships have few appearances and smaller ships rarely get much attention, they're just kinda there. That being said, the first destroyer is Gumrak from Ace Combat 5. She's an enemy destroyer that joins the player's nation's fleet after you rescue their country's leader. She would be like the current Dragon Emperor DDGs, but would be locked to the front line. To be fair, the destroyer she's based on do carry some torpedoes for anti-submarine warfare, so she could be more conventional, but it's a stretch. Canary is next. She appears in the DLC missions from Ace Combat 7, where she helps hunt down a particular submarine. Light cruiser that can equip missiles but has mediocre gunnery, but good AA, by virtue of being a Ticonderoga class missile cruiser. For the third and final frontline is Hatakaze class destroyer Chivalrous, also from Ace Combat 5. She led an attack on Kestrel's fleet after listening in on communications and branding them as traitors, after learning of them working with Gumrak and some others. All of the frontlines are elites, by the way. That's a full fleet, but usually collabs have 7 ships and I'm already kinda scraping the bottom of the barrel. Could do a sub, but those are rare in Ace Combat and usually some kind of ballistic missile subs. Torpless bastards. The hell is that? The final ship I'm proposing for this collab is, of course, ALxAC, the star of the show in Ace Combat 7's DLC missions. Make no mistake, ALxAC's a submersible aircraft carrier, not a submarine. There's not a torpedo tube in sight on this monstrosity. She would be our 2nd submarine carrier, and unlike I-13, would be able to launch regular aircraft instead of being locked to seaplanes. ALxAC would have a unique loadout of a heavy cruiser gun and 2 aircraft slots for torpedo or dive bombers. One of these slots could also be for missiles, since she did carry those too. On top of all that, she would have a small barrage that fires a few seconds after launching aircraft, as a reference to her giant fucking railgun, as well as being remarkably tanky for a sub. She would be useless submerged though. Also, she's just a little bit absolutely psychotic because, you know. Of course, a collab is more than just the ships. There are the skins for these ships too. Perhaps skins based off characters related to these ships or from their respective games. Kay Nagase or President Harlan for Kestrel, Torres for Alcorn and Tanager, Marigold based on Melissa Herman or Viktor Wojciech, Goomrak gets Prime Minister Nicanor, Canary's captain didn't physically appear so she gets based off Scream, an enemy pilot from the same mission. She'll also be based on Vice President Appleruth, because they're both bastards, to be honest. Of course, with a new collab event comes collab dorm furniture, in this case based on an airbase, or rather its interior. With all the things you typically find in there: barracks, mess halls, some maintenance equipment, maybe a Manju scale hangar. Can't forget gear skins. Typically 3 for each type. For the planes, the XO2 Wyvern, ADF-X Morgan, and CFA-44 Nosferatu. Picking these because they're basically the most iconic original aircraft in Ace Combat. Could go either way on CFA-44. Torpedoes get skins based on anti-ship missiles, since torpedoes are just underwater missiles when you think about it. Skins would be the ASM-3 found on the F2 Super Kai in Shinden, the KH-31 from the Su-33 and Su-35S, and the Starfire from the XO2. Battleship shell skins could be the Railgun Shockwaves from Stonehenge or Alcorn, as well as Sea Eagle and Exocet ASMs. Vanguard ship shells would also get a Railgun shell, this time from the smaller plane-mounted ones, as well as Brimstone and Maverick missiles that are used for 8 and 4 target air-to-ground missiles respectively. As for the event itself, the event shop would be fairly standard, featuring Alcorn as the event shop ship, alongside SY missiles, with event currency being either credits or MRP. The event story could be pretty much anything. Probably the ships finding themselves in AL's world, somehow alive and then meeting our ships. The devs are pretty good at pulling stuff out their asses, so I'm sure they could think of something if this were to become a real collab. It'd also be a minigame, but that could be so many things and I'm not going to bother speculating. As for background music, Blue Sky's Infinity remix for logging, any one of the hangar themes for port, and then take your pick for battle and boss music. Ace Combat has consistently fantastic soundtracks. 0 maybe? So yeah, that's it. A hypothetical Ace Combat cross Arza Lane collab. What's your thoughts? Ace Combat is owned by Bandai Namco and AL has worked with them before, albeit to middling results. Idolmaster collab. Could be possible, if a bit different from what we usually collab with. And besides, Ace Combat has had a number of weird collabs before, so funny playing game cross anime boat game isn't too far-fetched. Probably more likely that we get the actual characters instead of ship girls of AC ships. If this event were to come real, probably would have been easier too, but oh well. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. So until next time, fair winds and following seas.